Hello, good morning from Malawi.
Good morning. Good morning to all of you. So please wait for some time.
Yes, guys, what is going on? Good morning to everyone. Let me hope that you all are good.
See, uh, hello, hello everybody. Yes, I'm Karuna. You attended my class yesterday. So I'm actually waiting for few more students to join. So that's the reason nobody was speaking out. So maybe we'll wait for another 2-3 minutes and then I'll start. So somebody wants to ask something? Do we start? Anybody can answer.
Madam, we can start our presentation because in
Yeah.
between, if there will be any issue, the students will raise their issues.
Yeah, I think I'm going to begin it. So just to have a recap whatever we had done yesterday. I hope you all know that we talked about our first unit, mainly introduction to society, and we had talked mainly on 3 units, that covered introduction basically to the society, then community, association, institution, primary and secondary group. That was covered under the first unit. Then, under the second unit, we had studied about evolution of human society and studied about mainly 2 3 theories that was shared, that was actually given by Herbert Spencer and Auguste Comte. Then we had studied in our unit 3 social process. In that, mainly we talked about social interaction, that covers conflict, cooperation, and competition, and a very little about social control. So, today we are going to talk about the fourth unit. You know, uh, in our fourth unit, I'm going to now use the PPT with you all. Just 1 minute. I'll see how I can. Wait a minute, I'm trying how I can. Just 1 minute, I don't know why I'm not able to share this. I am facing this problem to share this. Just 1 minute. Huh? I actually never use PPT, so uh, how do I really go about this? This is not sharing. I'm trying. See. See, huh. So now you all can see this, that this is our unit 4 that talks about social change, concept and factors involved in social change. I just want to tell you all that our today's topic is slightly different. It would be probably, you may probably enjoy it more because it will, you can relate with our day to day life, when we talk about today's subject yesterday, whatever our discussion was, that was more on a theoretical aspect. But from today onwards, whatever we are going to talk, that will have more, relation to our daily life. So it will be probably easier for you to understand the concept. So, this unit we are going to talk about basically, mainly the first thing in this is social change. So, when we talk about social change, so we really need to understand what do we understand by social change. You know, see, see, the word change immediately brings to mind something different from yesterday or past. Change is irrefutable law of nature. We every day in our daily life we keep seeing the changes. One thing or the other, something or the other brings always brings a change in our daily life. So changes for that matter is really very important. So no human society is static. You know, it is difficult to predict the form and directions of social change. See, the reason is that the factors that causes social change do not remain uniform always. When we try to understand this concept of social change, we will always notice there is no uniform way how the change will occur. There is nothing uniform about it. you know like the population changes, expansion of science and technology, ideologies and social values take on new forms, and as a result of that, social structure, social system, and social institution change their functioning. See, even the process of industrialization and urbanization has changed the whole characteristics of social relationships. The social term itself is used to indicate the changes that take place in human interaction and interrelation. Basically, change is the system of our social relationship. This relationship, what we maintain in the society with each other, we can always notice the social change in that. So there are actually different definitions given by the different speakers, different writers, different sociologists. So maybe for your examination purpose, you may try to remember one or two definitions given by one or two sociologists about that. Whichever you find is more convenient and easier for you to remember, you can do that. So this is how it is. Now the thing is concept of social progress and social development. See, whenever we talk about social change, so we have to understand these two concepts: social progress and social development. So social progress is relative term in the sense that to some people change in daily living, social functions, social relationships, attitudes and values. That means progress. Somehow one thing or the other is progressing. So social progress actually refers to forces which may human life socially and biologically better. you know with the like when you talk about social progress means we like to progress in our day to day life. So when we talk about progress, so we it's the nature of the it's the nature. So we learn that through our day to day behavior or day to day leading of life. And development in knowledge, invention and use of various technologies and gadgets initiates modified standard of living, social relationships, social functionings, attitudes and values. This is what we have to understand about this. See, here what I have written here also, that social progress highlights few important features. What is that? It actually talks about that social progress is a movement. It is not strategic. It is a movement. We keep moving towards ideally determined objectives. Then social progress is a movement of adaptation for existing environment, you know, that makes life easier. Social progress is not just a movement in any direction, it is a movement that creates a social order based on spirituality, dignity of human beings, you know, liberty, happy life, full of moral values. All that is a way of social progress. So this is what is we understand about social progress. Then when we talk about social development actually is a comprehensive concept. That means structural changes introduced deliberately to transform the society. That you can read it here also. It has been explained. So it has certain goals. Social development, when we talk about, it talks about some important goals. What are those goals? To create a society where living conditions of the people are better. They do not suffer from hunger and they are not denied basic necessities of life. When we are living, when we are living in the society, wherever we may be, we are living, we have to live, we have to ensure, even we can say the government has a duty to ensure that no one dies of hunger. So this is all, understanding. When we talk about social development, we have to understand it in that sense. To remove regional imbalances and rural urban disparities, to create an infrastructure where the basic needs of the people are met at all levels, including those who constitute the poorest and deprived section of society. So, this is something again what is very important, that basically no poor should die of hunger. All the basic needs of these people should be fulfilled. This is very important. Then, as it is written here, like I have written here, the United Nations also highlights some important aspects. What is that? You know, so as per UN also, to leave no section of the population outside the scope of social development. When we talk about social development, we do not leave any individual behind. We talk about each and everybody who is a human being living in the society. To effect structural changes which favors social development and activate all sectors of the population to participate in social development process, to aim at social equity, to give high priority to the development of human resources, including like whether it is vocational or technical training, whatever resources we have to talk about everything. Then next comes is the factors of social change. So this is again something very important. What are the factors which are important that we can consider important to understand the concept of social change? So very first is physical environment and social change. So what do we understand by the physical environment? So physical environment is the most important aspect which influence social life. How? You know, we can understand that with the concept of disasters in the form of storms, floods, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, fire, seasonal variations, etc. All these determines as physical environmental factors. So, physical environment promotes and limit the growth of civilization. You know, physical environments determine the form, the growth, and change in human society. This is really very important for us to understand. So, physical environmental compulsions such as famine, droughts, floods, earthquakes led to human migration to distant places. We all must have noticed, you all have seen how your different countries got freedom, in such difficult circumstances, and you must have observed and must have heard from your elders at home that how in these kind of difficult circumstances people migrate from one place to the other. So then this generally happens, so human migrants to distant places with the consequences of disruption to settled human life. When anybody is settled at one place of residence, and when they have to move to a different place, so it makes a difference in their life. So this is what has been explained here. So, physical environmental compulsions affect social life by producing new ways of living and set up social relationships. So, it is now very much evident that physical environment factors induce social change. So, the first aspect, as it is written here, physical environment and social change. I hope by different examples, what I just gave you, you are able to understand this concept. Now, we are going to the next, that is demographic factors of social change. See, what do we understand by demography? So, demography basically is the study of human population. Demos is a Greek word which means people. So, demographic factors induce social change are fertility, mortality, migration, changing age structure, sex ratio, age of marriage, patterns of marriage, childbearing age, life expectancy, use of contraceptives, level and type of morbidity. All these are demographic factors, that talks about the human people, the population. So it says The society with high fertility rate are choked with overpopulation, infant and maternity mortality rate, child labor, unemployment, rural to urban migration, shortage of services required for requires for the sustainability of social life, family violence, marital breakdown, criminality, and slums, etc. So, in order to check high fertility rate, family welfare and planning measures were introduced. To start with, these measures were opposed and considered as irreligious. Whenever in any country, and especially if I talk about in India, so India, you all know that now, as of today, India is number one in the world. Earlier, China used to be the first number, but now India has beaten China, and India is the topmost country with the maximum population. So, in India also, everywhere, everybody keeps trying how one can uh, make efforts to control birth rate, what all can be done. But there are people, everybody doesn't like this concept. Some do not like, some have their own religious beliefs and all. So it is something which is important to for us to understand. Like family welfare and planning measures were introduced, but these measures were opposed and considered irreligious, immoral, and acquired social acceptance only slowly with the passage of time. The social acceptance of family planning measures led to change in social attitude and social values for forming a new society based on small family structure. This is how it is. So it has been also observed that in India, it is also observed that sex ratio is also declining in few states. In few of Indian states, it is noticed that the female to sex ratio is very low. In Punjab, and there are one or two more states where the ratio has come down to 800 something per thousand. If there are 1,000 boys, so the girls are maybe around 800 or 820, or at some places it may be in 700s also. So that kind of a sex ratio is also observed. So in many places, you must have also noticed the girls were considered a negative property, a burden on the family. The situation has further deteriorated in modern life. Introduction of pre-birth tests, sex determination tests started happening, and people used to if they know in their pregnancy that it's that the female child is going to be born, so they go for abortion. So many such kind of things or such kind of practices are also happening. So, so this misuse is also there. What we can observe. So now what we have to understand, the changing age structure in all societies due to longevity and improved health measures will have its own fallout. You know, in case the population of old person will require more social and economic support system. What we have observed, like with passage of time, it is being observed that our old population has been increasing. The people who are in the old age, many countries, in Europe also, in so many countries, we have observed that there are more and more old people living. So if there are more number of old people, so means we really need to have kind of a better economic support system. So, failing health, loneliness, isolation, and marginalization of old persons are creating new social problems. So, it is established that social and economic life of human beings is integral part of each other. Economic aspect of social life is a primary feature of society. Human society, starting from hunting and gathering stage, has passed through various stages to reach the present stage, which is being dominated by industrial production, trade, and commerce, along with agricultural production and its distribution based on latest scientific techniques. So, this is what is being observed. See, now the prevailing economic system determine the social relationship and social functions. The agriculture system of production has a different type of social life as compared to industrial system of production. It is being found. Whenever we talk about the change in our social system, we can notice all this. Anybody wanted to say something? Not attend the lesson because we have a. See, you are saying your screen is now not moving. See, these are the basic terms what I have written. I am giving you the details on my verbal note, so it doesn't have everything is not written in the PPT. If I write each and every sentence in the PPT, then the PPT itself will be of 100 pages or more than that. That won't solve the purpose. PPT is meant to clear the basic concepts. So it is, I have not moved it. I am, as of now, is talking about demographic factors of social change to you people. I am explaining that to you from the book and with my personal examples I am sharing with you. Yeah. So again, like what we can make out and feel is like the poor people, uneducated people living in slums and rural areas had high fertility rate, resulting in population explosion throughout the world. So this is what we all can see how the demographic factors of social change are important. How we can see a demographic make a difference in social change. Now the third is technological change. Now I am going to talk about technological factors of social change. So what do we understand by technological factors of social change? When we say technological changes, that means that it has a global village and produce profound social change. What are the technological factors? That includes industry, agriculture, transportation, communication, source of energy, food processing, housing, physical environment are influenced by technological changes. So these are actually are the main factors which makes a difference that can help us to understand the technological changes. See, so other way it has been explained the changes in the institution of family such as from joint family system to nuclear family system employment of females are going because you also may have noticed in India it is very common nowadays that woman is going outside the house for work and most of the time it is being over the female is going outside not only doing the household chores is contributing in day-to-day life affairs and employment and generating money for that change in the role and relationship of husband and wife is being observed from the family size is being nowadays we have small families where there are only husband wife or one or two children living in the family so this is all a way of change. You see referred it as transformation of society from one minute. What did you say? And see referred it as transformation of society from. That is different. It is different. This is now we are talking about social change. So social change has these aspects. What I am telling you, that is what we have to understand in a different perspective. you know how what all can make a relation to social change what all are important to bring social change in one's life so with for that I am explaining you with these kind of these are the three factors physical environment Then demographic factors, then these are technological factors. So technology means industry, agriculture, transportation, communication. These what I have said earlier also I am repeating. These are the factors that brings change in the society. So changes in the very basic of social stratification, reduced effect of caste system on employment and day-to-day living, all these are the factors that makes a difference to bring social change in one's life. Then another thing, it has been written over here. I don't have a PPT of that. What is in the next? That is about social attitude, social values, and social change. My voice is not clear. Can somebody write? My voice is not clear, or what?
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, my voice is not clear. Can anybody say, is it clear? Can you hear me?
Yes, you can hear you, ma'am.
Okay, thanks. Thank you. Yeah. See, now these are two things which are again important. There is no PPT for that. That is social attitude. So, social attitude basically is an orientation towards a person, situation, institution, or social process that is helped to be indicative of underlying values and belief. So, social attitudes is manifested through कैसे how, it is through social behavior, social relationships, and social functioning. This is something which I'm just sharing in very brief. So it also says, we can note attitude. When we talk about attitude, we may, like, somebody may have a sense of inferiority, somebody may have a sense of superiority, and somebody may be very neutral. This is again a kind of attitude what we can notice while in our day to day life. When we talk about social change, this is something again that makes a difference. All these factors are again important. Then it says social values. So when we talk about social values, that is, it is social values are ideas held by the members of society about ethical or appropriate social behavior. Social values depict what is right or wrong, desirable or undesirable. you know that is how the social values are. Social values, these cannot be proved. you know these are held to be desirable. They are guided to social behavior. These grow out of personal experience. Some of the important social values are achievement and success. This is again a social value. Activity and work, moral responsibilities, concern for people who are suffering as a result of some disaster, efficiency and patriotism, progress, material comfort, freedom, and independence. So, all these are social values. Again, there is something which has been explained here is acceptance and resistance in social change. We may notice sometimes we like to accept certain social changes, and some it happened at times there are certain social changes which we do not like to accept. We resist. We do not want that kind of a change. So this is something that happens in our life. Uh, Acceptance and resistance to social change are two sides of a same coin. You know, when we give an example of a coin, like the coin has two sides, head and tail. Similar way, acceptance and resistance. These are also two sides of a coin. In a of innovation leading to social change in modern industrial society, There is a diversity of social norms and social values, which permits the new generation to choose different ways of life or to recognize the existing social practices which in various ways oppose the social and cultural values of older generation. There is always intergeneration gap. We always notice that there is one or the other gap, you know, one or the other. There are always you see a gap in the system. Some people resist social change due to desire for stability, illiteracy, ignorance, economic cost, vested interest, lack of awareness, and few things. So this is something what we observe in India. When I talk about India, which is there in your course also, in India there is one system that is called Sati Pratha. You know, Sati Pratha means when any woman's husband dies, and that woman also goes for her death. Sometimes that she also it's called Sati Pratha. When the woman also died, prefer to dies when the body of the husband is cremated, and she also goes and she also dies with her husband. So that is called Sati Pratha. You know, so Sati Pratha, child marriage, preference for female child, women education, human rights, and democratic ways of functioning are being resisted even today. When we talk about social changes, so we do not like to talk about these aspects. We are not very much interested to see, to discuss these areas. We don't want this kind of a change. So resistance, villages, if you we talk about villages, we have seen in the villages also people are migrating from one place to another. Sometimes the agriculture techniques, if they are, there is a change, there are new agricultural techniques are coming, and some people do not like to accept it, and they are not willing to accept the change in that. So that is also observed. And adopting of small family norm is again an area which is being of some kind of resistance to some people in the society. So this is what has been mainly when we talk about social change. So this is what basically we have studied about it. It also shares that social change has certain limitations. So what are the major limitations? It says it is a social change. When we say social change, it is complex in nature. It is pluralistic. There are too many things. When we talk about social change, we talk about each and every aspect of life. So it is pluralistic. So social change brings social isolation in certain cases. Social change brings uncertainties. Social change in certain situations bring conflict. You know, Sometimes it may lead to social disintegration. So sometimes it is very difficult to bring the outcome of social changes. So these are the few limitations that has been explained in this. So now, in this slide, we have covered about the social change. So that is mainly your unit 4. Now we come to unit 5, that is social control. If you remember, yesterday we just touched very briefly, we touched about social control. But in this unit, we are going to talk in detail, in depth, everything that is about social control. How and what we need to understand by social control. So, say that the term social control is used in many ways to compel the individuals to conform to societal norms and standards is generally thought to be the be all and end all of social control. In broader sense, social control encompasses the regulation entire social order aiming to achieve social ideals and objectives. So social control, in other words, can be defined as any social or cultural means which systematic and relatively consistent restraints are imposed upon individuals' behavior and by which human beings are persuaded and motivated to behave in accordance with the traditions, patterns, and value framework thought necessary for the smooth functioning of a group or a society. So, social control, when we talk about social control, it operates basically at three levels. It is from group over group, when one group determines the behavior of the other group, then the group over its members, when the group decides the behavior of the members of the group, and then the third is an individual over their fellows, when the individuals influence the responses of other individuals. So it can be, when we talk about social control, it can be done in three different levels. Now, to understand, because it is a complete unit, by understand the different aspects in this social control unit, you will understand this concept more clearly. you know so social control basically refers to attempts made to influence others according to established social norms and standards. Self control refers to individuals attempt to guide and regulate his own behavior. This is very important, that individual, because it is a way how one can control oneself. It is because when we are talking about social controls, we are not talking about one single individual. We are talking about the society, all of us. As all of us are the part of society, so we have to understand this concept, social control for the society, how it can manifest, how important it is for us to understand this. So, social control and socialization are closely interrelated. Social control plays a very vital role in a socialization process, and socialization helps in maintaining social control. You know, this is really very important. Yesterday we talked about socialization. So, like in the socialization, we have, understood, we have read about that family, religion, peer group, educational institution, our profession, employment, all that are the part of socialization. They can play important role in socialization. So socialization and social control again are interrelated, and that makes a difference. So sometimes both social control and socialization use common techniques to regulate the human behavior. you know this is again very important for us to understand. Techniques, when we will talk about techniques and different things, so sometimes the socialization and social control techniques are same. So this is what has been written over here. The person, see, socialization relates to the persons who are made to learn the culture of the group and society, or social control is related to all persons, groups, and entire social system, and thus its approach is wider than of socialization. So this is what here it has been explained. When we talk about socialization, we are talking about the persons who are made a difference. But when we talk about social control, then we are talking about all persons, groups, and entire social system. So it has a larger aspect. See, then it is again said that socialization is more concerned with development of self of human beings, while social control is directed to regulate the external behavior of individuals, even if individual is internally unwilling. Sometimes an individual may not be willing to change at all, but social control may be kind of emphasize, kind of put pressure to the person to expect certain things to bring that kind of a social control in the environment. So In the socialization, maximum punishment for the person may be his social boycott. Maybe, if somebody is not behaving well or something, the parents observe in a child or something in a friendship or somewhere. So you may boycott that person, that we will not speak to him for certain days or certain months or whatever. This is what it is again. But in the process of social control, a person with deviant behavior may be given rigorous imprisonment. Yeah? Or he may be hanged to death. He may be, because under the social control, there is a concept of punishment, which generally in socialization we don't consider. We don't talk about that. Yeah? This is how it has been explained. So this is something which has been explained here. Now, what is the need and importance of social control? The progress of any society depends upon the effective functioning of its various groups, organizations, and institutions. This is again something very important. Like traditions are the safe custodians of our heritage and culture. So, through social control, people are motivated and compelled to follow certain traditions. This is again very important. है ना? So, social control is also required to bring compatibility in thoughts, ideas, behavior patterns, attitudes, and perception of the individual, because divide of it, society cannot function effectively. It is important, if the society has to work effectively, it has to follow certain rules and regulation and certain norms in an effective manner. So cooperation is the key of all success. If society is to survive, desired cooperation of all the people are required. It is really required. So social controls help us in achieving the cooperation of all. So social control provides social security to all the people. So this is what is been explained here. So now we will go to what are the different forms of social control. So now we will talk what are these different forms. It is very important to understand. When we want to understand the social control concept in clarity, these forms also will explain us what are the ways through which social control can be maintained. Now, the number one, the first is conscious and unconscious control. Conscious and unconscious control. So, conscious and unconscious control. So, the conscious behavior of human beings refer to such acts and action as are done deliberately. You know, deliberately and in a planned way. Example, subordinate employee does not sit in the chair of his boss. This generally we observe when we talk about employment, whenever people are working anywhere, in any organization or any office. So if anybody is a subordinate, he will never sit on the chair of his boss. And that respect is always given. So this is a kind of a conscious control we have. On the other hand, some human actions are done unconsciously, and the person himself does not know why he is doing so, because repeated behavior patterns become a part and parcel of his personality. Like while putting the clothes, while putting on our clothes, we follow a certain pattern. We know that first we will use the undergarments, and only after using the undergarments, we will then put on the other clothes. This is the way it has been explained. So it has been explained in this way. Then second is direct, direct and indirect control. So what do we understand by direct and indirect control? So it has been explained that direct control is of parents, friends, teachers, neighbors, etc. It is basically a direct kind of a control, because directly the parents can control the behavior of the children, or the teachers can say something or the other to the students, neighbors can guide or explain certain things. This is a way of direct control. Indirect social control refers to the control which is done by the social and physical environment, like the different groups and institutions can somehow play a indirect role in one's life. So this is important. Then next is positive and negative social control. So positive and negative social control is again very important. Positive motivation of the individual to conform, you know, through promises of reward, ranging from tangible material benefits to the social approval. When we talk about positive social control, sometimes with an example we can understand we want to see some changes in our child. If I as a mother want my child to do certain things, I can give her certain rewards that if you finish off this task in certain time limits, I will give you a chocolate, a toffee, or something, or new clothes, or whatever. So this is a way of positive social control. This is how we can have this kind of a positive control, or other way, a kind of a appreciation letter, that if you do certain things for employment, when we are working somewhere in a job like this, appreciation for your job, that you have finished off your job in the time limit, so there is an appreciation letter given. So this is again that is important. So this is a kind of a positive social control. And sometimes, in the process of negative kind of coping, deviant behavior of individual is discouraged and punished. If somebody is not behaving properly, has certain different difficulties, not doing things as per the norms of the society, has a deviant behavior, so there is a punishment, ridicule, criticism, excommunication, imprisonment, fine, and these kind of things can be used as negative social control. So this is what we understand by this. Then now we have organized, unorganized, and automatic social control. So organized social control is human behavior is influenced by a set of social agencies having clearly defined do's. There are certain things which are doable, do's and don'ts, for individuals. Educational institutions, family, state exercise this kind of a social control. Families, as I mentioned earlier, like family in the for the child, for the anybody in the family can have certain rules that, yeah, by 10 p.m. you are allowed to come home back. If you are going out, you are allowed to come back home by 10 p.m. You cannot come later than 10 p.m. So this is an example of a kind of a organized social control that is being done by, like, family, educational institutions, the so state can exercise this kind of a thing. Then you have unorganized social control. When we talk about unorganized social control, we talk about, that is through the means of rites and rituals, customs and traditions, folkways and mores. This is how it is. It is unorganized. There is no systematic organized way. It can be, the social control can happen through these different ways. Then third in this only is the automatic social control, where individuals are themselves motivated to act in order to meet their felt needs. You know, like religious prescriptions are examples of such type of social control, which are not imposed upon individuals but are willingly and automatically adopted by them. So this is what is being explained by organized, unorganized, and automatic social control. Now we will study autocratic and democratic social control. So, autocratic social control, that is mainly used by administrative agencies, administrative agency, or the authority uses it It's forced to attain the objective other than those defined and recognized by society. Autocratic form of social control comes into picture, through people who are of authority. You know, in certain countries, we may see the kind of a autocratic kind of a kind of politics, and in certain countries like India, we have a democratic kind of a setup where there is a democracy where the population of India chooses the prime minister and president of India. They are being chosen. So this is a kind of a, like in China, we hear that they have more of a autocratic kind of a control system. So this is again a kind of an example of it. If the control is exercised by the agencies or authorities established by the people themselves, and if their wishes are taken into consideration while framing rules and regulation, the democratic social control comes into effect. The example, as I just give you of India, people are motivated to behave in accordance with the democratic norms. Persuasion, motivation, discussion, consultation, and participation are the commonly used techniques in democratic kind of a social control system. But in autocratic consolidation, there are compulsions, intimidation, exploitation, threats, and tortures. Those techniques are generally we observe in autocratic kind of a social control system. Then the last here is formal and informal social control. When we talk about formal and informal control, it is more or less very similar to positive and negative social control. The formal social control has the sanction of the state, whose authority is used to regulate human behavior. It adopts written and well defined set of rules and regulations, laid down a formal system of punishment for those who do not conform, and establish the laws, police, jail, and judicial institution for trial and punishment. Whereas informal social control influences by belief, customs, traditions, criticism, public opinion, religion, etc., is exercised by the society. So these are the different forms of social control. So now there are different means. What are the important means through which social control can take place? This is something when you study about this, you will very easily and comfortably understand about this. Like this is something which will make us understand the concept of social control in the practical manner. This really explains all such means are very important and very easy to understand. So I won't really go in much details of this, but in very brief, I will touch them like belief. So we all, you know, understand what is belief. Belief approved by society play a very important role, of human behavior. There are certain rules, which we need to follow. There are certain ways that people are rewarded and punished according to their action in their present life. It's also a belief. Likewise, people also believe in heaven. Like people, there are beliefs of this kind. No? There is heaven and hell. People believe that if you do good karma and if you behave well, you will go to uh, hmm, go to heaven. But if you don't behave well, if you do wrong karmas and wrong deeds, you will go to hell. So this kind of belief also there. So there are different kind of beliefs when we are in a society, when we are as a human being living our life. So we may have different kind of beliefs in our setup. Then social suggestions. What is that? People, suggested that should develop their personality in a healthy way. Social suggestions are also given through verbal means. You know, maybe sometimes there are writings, some maybe so there are certain books that experience certain good norms and values to live as a human beings, to lead a good life. So since people find social suggestions worthwhile, they take generally inspirations from these suggestions to regulate their behavior. Then third is social ideal. Social ideal is this is social ideal. So social ideal, what is social ideal? So social ideal, like in our country, and you all must have heard the name of Mahatma Gandhi. Then we have a name of Jawaharlal Nehru, Subhash Chandra Bose. These are considered as social ideal people who have done a lot in our society. There are too many things which has been done in the society. So they all are, kind of considered as the social ideals. Then we have fourth is uh, sanskars that are ordained by religion. So basically, it is the religions that is important, that we learn good values and certain things from the religion. You know, there are certain prescribed norms and regulations that we all follow. So basically, it motivates people to perform a work in a particular way, having acceptance of the concerned society. How we can move around and what is right and wrong and how certain things to be done. These are all, sometimes it is in Hindi called sanskars. It is written in this book, and but basically it is related to the religion also, that certain things we learn from the values we imbibe from our religion. That then you have done the next is art. What is art? So art relates to the feeling of individuals, and by giving a direction to the feeling, art maintains social control. How art can maintain social control? It is through it. Maybe you may observe to see certain sculptures, certain paintings, drawings, weavings, architectures, pottery, dress designing, metalwork, poetry, literature, music, and dance, etc. All these are different kind of art. So that also teaches us way of social control. Then next is leaders, like social ideas we have read earlier. Now the next is leadership. Leader are an effective means of social control. They help us in various ways. If there are good leaders, we can consider anybody as our leader, whom we like to follow, whom we like to obey. Sometimes we try to imitate somebody, wants to become a person like that other person who may behave in a certain ways, and we may like certain you know good habits about him, certain way of leading his life. So the leader is very important to have a social control. It teaches generally, when we say leaders, we talk about political leaders. So political leaders are again very important, and they also lead a very important life, makes a difference. So humor and ridicule. This is again important. Humor is also important. A different kind of humor can also make a difference way of social control. Then you have fashion. So fashion is again important. It is not written here. Fashion is also an important way to bring social control, the designing, the desire, the sense to kind of identity we develop through fashion. You want, there is a particular kind of a fashion going on, somebody is wearing certain kind of clothing, certain things, and we want to learn from that, and we also want to imitate that. So fashion is also a way of social control. Then ahimsa. Ahimsa basically is non-violence. So non-violence is again something which is a concept given by Mahatma Gandhi. You all must have heard about him. So that is something which is also a way of bringing social control. Then language, the kind of language we speak, what language we speak and how we talk, that makes a very different to bring a social control in our life. It is basically a medium and meaning to the feelings of people. through our language, through our way of talking to the other person, how we speak, how we talk, that relates to the social control. Our behavior, our talking, our way of talking, the language helps in social control by socializing individuals, transferring culture, enabling person to adjustment to the society. This is how it is working. Then punishment and reward. So punishment and reward is again, it is not here, but punishment and reward are also important. That for certain wrong deeds, there is always a concept of punishment. And as I said earlier, the reward is again something. If you do all right deeds, if you do certain deeds which are good, it can be considered important. Then folkways and mores, we have folkways plays an important role in social control. These are defined by their repeated use. Folkways are indicative of social norms or standards of behavior that are socially approved but not considered necessarily for moral significance. So, folkways provide traditional definitions of proper way of behaving in a particular society, how we can do. And morals. Morals refer to those social norms that provide the moral standard of behavior of a group or a society. Then we have propaganda. Sometimes certain things are being propagated more, and to bring a social gain, there are certain things, information about good or bad, that helps the organization. Because if there is any organization anywhere working, they decide these are certain norms to be followed, there are certain good things to be done, and there are certain things not to be done. So it is being propagated. Even at various places we see there are certain pamphlets and certain kind of things which are being, we see that it is for the good of the people and propaganda. So that can also considered as a way of social control. It's a mean of social control. Then customs, wherever, whichever society we are living, we form certain co-social, some customs. It is basically a folkway having been in practice for a long time, transferred from one generation to the other, and it is a well established in human societies. So this is again something which is important for us to understand. Then public opinion. Public opinion means a conclusion or judgment of the people about a particular object, event, or a situation. How one needs to do. The press, radio, television, newspaper, magazines, leaders, political parties, religious and educational institutions all play a decisive role in the formation of public opinion. So there is a way how one can make a public opinion that can have an impact on social control. Then religion, and then basically a law. So law is again very important. Law is a formal and systematic means of social control. We know wherever, whichever country we people are living in, every country has its own laws, certain rules and regulation. There is a law, there is a legal body that is being created. If there is any kind of behavior, there is a punishment for that. So law is being made to control the social system. So these are basically the means of social control. Now we have agencies of social control. Like in socialization, we have read about these agencies. So these are the agencies which have to play a very important role in social control. Family, we all know the family can play a very important role. I have talked about it earlier also, and our next session is when we go to our second unit, we will talk about it in detail. Education, we all know, has its impact when we study, when you are, it starts from our early childhood age. In schools also, we all have seen, we all are grown up people in our session today. And we all have learned through our schooling, through our education, different norms to be followed, how to go about certain things. So, all that is important aspects of education. So, education is important, and state. Then third is the state. State is again something which is very important because state has an overall responsibility for the people living in that society. So state tries to control and develop different schemes and develop different programs for the welfare of the area of the people living in that society. That is important. So this is what is basically about our unit 1. So now the unit 1 is complete, but as I promised, we will go for the 3 units in our everyday session. So now I will go to the second block. Second block I will touch, and what do you mean by PC? You are saying this PPT. As I said earlier, also, yesterday, also, I said I will share. There are 4 blocks, there are 4 PPTs that are being made by me. I will share with you all. I will give that to the director, RC, and he will share with you people all these PPTs that will help you when you prepare for your examination. I will share this with you. Now you have to wait for a little while because I have to start about the second PPT. Just a minute. And if in between, if any one of you, like we have covered today, 2 units. First is social change and second is social control. If anybody wants to ask me anything, you can ask. Otherwise, we will now start with our second unit, second block, first unit. Yeah, Faisal, you want to say something?
Yes, ma, but I want to ask about the social control.
Mm-hmm.
What are the procedures or technicalities that you can apply as a social worker to control over, a situation or over an over a place or over a situation whereby, for example, now
Yeah.
uh, there are some crises in the area. What are the procedures or that you need to follow in order to have control over the?
This is the see you. It's a very good question what you have raised. It is really nice. But see, as a student, first of all, as of now, you are the student of social work. You are doing a bachelor degree course in social work, and as you have already been explained about the first subject of this is 104, I think. That has been the 6 classes are being taken on that, you know. So, initially, social control is something which you cannot simply apply straight away in any area or in any difficult situation. When, as a social worker, you work in any organization, it depends on the organization what kind of work, what kind of a problem you have been given to you see that, depending on the issue, on the problem. As a student, please, first of all, it is very important for you to understand that when you are going as a student, you cannot, bring try to bring change in the system, because you have to follow. You cannot go to the society. If you see there are certain problems, We all are living in a society. We all understand and see there are many problems wherever we are living. You may see there are ways and there are reasons where we need to have social control, but as a human being, our hands are tied up. We cannot do everything at our own. Our responsibility is to inform the right person who is concerned for that particular problem. Wherever, for example, if in a community you see there is somebody who is for example, there is an example of about the 10 countries what I was reading, and especially about Nigeria I was reading. I just saw something where I read in Nigeria, the old people are getting married to very young girls. So this is something which is generally a not acceptable norms. So there is a need to bring the social change in that, But as a student, when you are going there as a student, you cannot do actually anything at your level, but you can raise this issue, you can bring this to the authority who has the control, who has the power to control, to bring change in the system. If the Nigerian government has made a rules that the early age of girls marriage is not permitted, then as per as a student, it is your responsibility to inform to the government, inform to the concerned people who are seeing that issue, who are in the authority position to take the right decision for that. So likewise, in different situations, it is your responsibility to, it is a chain. Yes, certain things in our society, in India also, there are different kind of social problems. In Africa also, there are different kind of variety of social problems. Some maybe are very similar to India. But as a student, our responsibility is to inform that to the right authorities to take a right step and to move on further accordingly. What all means I have shared, that there are different means and there are different forms of social control. So we have to just learn that, understand that concept, and accordingly move forward. Okay?
Yes, ma'am. Understood. Yes. Thank you.
Yes. Now there is somebody else also raised hand. Betavo, Dennis.
Well, firstly, thank you so much, Mother, for the wonderful work you are doing, and I will appreciate that. My
Thank you.
question
Yeah.
will go straight to social change. I would like to know, can you please give us more light about social progress and social development, the relationship between
See,
social progress
this
and
is
social
something which
development?
I have explained. Actually, I had explained that earlier, and you will get this PPT also. And when you study your book, the part of the book, it will explain you further in detail, because this is something which has certain theoretical aspect in that. So when you study, you will understand what I have explained to you. And when you study, you will be able to grasp, remember what all I shared with you. It will be easier for you to understand from that also. You know?
Okay,
Because
thank you,
now I
Mother.
have to, yeah, because now I have to see, we have to see that I have to cover now our next unit, because this is again very lengthy thing. Otherwise, I won't be able to complete that. Okay? So,
Okay,
huh. So now I'm going to our unit one. This is marriage and family. This is again a issue, a thing which we can very much correlate. We all are people who are living in the families. So it will be very easier for you to understand this issue from this thing. Like it has marriage institution, family institution, relationship within the family, and socialization. So I will now go to this. 1 minute. See, now marriage. So marriage basically is an institution where admitted men and women to a family life with the implied purpose of parenthood and establishment of a family. The basically this institution has social approval and religious sanction. You know, it is socially sanctioned union between man and woman for the purpose of procreation and establishment of a family. So this is uh, basically now the marriage is a socially approved way of establishing a family by procreation. You know, it is basically involves certain reciprocal rights and duties. You know,
Rama.
so it is basically a reciprocal social relations and cultural behavior of a man and woman who publicly signify their union for the implied purpose
Yes,
among other pious objectives. You want to say something?
yes, ma.
Yes.
Please can you sharing your screen for us so that we will be able to access to see what you are reading, please.
I am not able to understand. What did you say? I will share all these PPTs, in my
Yes.
last session for you people to understand because as of now, I am just telling you from these PPTs, and in the end, I will make it a thing. I will speak to the director that all the PPTs what I have made for this subject will be given to you, will be shared with you all. When you study, it will help you to grasp it, to understand it in more clarity. I will share that with you. Fine. So now, wedding. So marriage actually begins with legal or religious ceremonies or both. Sometimes the wedding basically is recognition of the public significance of marriage. So you see, in Muslims there is a different way of getting married. In Christians, the way of getting married is very different. In our India, in Hindu families, the wedding ceremony is different. So there are different ways how the marriage take place. So this is basically it is marriage. When we talk about marriage, it is a licensing and ceremony. So it is a issue of a license when then makes it mandatory for person to meet age and health regulations. So generally, it is there. In certain ways, it is being noticed. It is being formed that there are certain things to be remembered. That when a girl or a boy, when a man or a woman are getting married, they are healthy. They do not hide any problems or any issues with each other. So all those things are very important. You know, the wedding also indicates that two persons are fused in a new life. The exchange of gold rings, generally it is there, the gold rings, or આજકાલ in today's time there's a diamond ring, or whatever a person feels like comfortable, drinking from the same vessel, garlands, garlands each other, or eating a common plate of food are all symbolic of the union. The ceremony also expresses the good wishes of relatives and friends. There is a condition. There is a way of presenting gifts, wedding greetings, participating in the ceremony, and receptions are the expression of marriage wishes. As I said, because it depends whichever community and whichever religion you belong to, you may have a different norms or rules that are to be followed when any marriage takes place. You have observed that generally in Christians, marriage takes place in churches, in Muslims, it takes place in front of a uh, uh, so you know the pandit basically in Hindus, and so likewise, it is a religious rite. The marriage ceremony currently is a religious rite in many societies which consider marriage as a sacred institution. That is important. This sacred institution is very important because it is a kind of a license that gives you to for procreation of children or to have sex. This is generally a general norm that marriage allows two. maybe a husband and wife, when they are living together, they can have sex or they can have children. So, this is how it is. It is considered a sacred bond, sections by the God and recognized through religious institution. So, this is again important. Then it says mate selection. When you talk about selection of a partner, that is called a mate, MATE, mate. Huh? Mate for marriage are obtained through two methods, generally through arrangement or sometimes through freedom of choice. Selection of mates must obviously precede marriage. You know, it is basically a early association of people long before ceremonial marriage appeared. So it actually depends. Like in India, in Hindus, in like how we talked about social change. So now through social change, we can notice there are more and more love marriages are happening, and arranged marriages are comparatively lesser in numbers. So marriage, when we say about our traditional, our old family time, where we used to see hardly any love marriage takes place, and all marriages used to be arranged by the elders at home. So it is how it is. So it talks about how the arranged marriages takes place. Generally, when there is a arranged marriage, it talks about the social and economic positions of the families, the health of the families, desire of the both the partners, their you know willingness to accept each other. All these things are really very important when we try to understand the concept of marriage. Then second is our family institution. So, about marriage, I think in our next further units also we will study more in more detail about marriage. But as of now, this is just a basic concept of marriage, and you all are familiar with marriage. So, I don't really think it is needed for me to spend more time on this basic concept of marriage. So now family institution. So institution of a family is a consequence of marriage in several society. Family is defined as a group of people. They are related either by blood, marriage, or adoption, or who form an economic unit and are responsible for care of children and often live in the same household, in the same boundary of a house they live. So this is important. Then relationship within the family. When we talk about relationship within the family, we say that it is basically the family is a procreative child rearing, and a status giving group. You know, so family basically there are two types of relationship in the immediate family, which are quite apparent. These are marriage relationship, and the other is relationship of biological kinship. The relationship between the husband and wife of the first type, while the other interpersonal relation normally found in the immediate family or of a biological type, like father son, father daughter, mother son, mother daughter, and the relationship between the other family members, brother sisters, sister sister, like that. So if we examine the family structure of different societies, we can see the major emphasis on the marriage relationship in some place, while in other emphasis is on blood relationship. So there is one is conjugal family, in which dominant relationship is that of the spouses. Spouses, I hope you all understand, is when they are married to each other, and when the couple, the man and woman who are living together, is called spouse. So we understand this term spouse. So here it is explained that conjugal family is one where the dominant relationship is that of the spouses, and the other is green family, in which the relationship is between the couples, between the bloodies, where there is a blood relationship. Some want to ask something, Evolved. Evolved, you want to say something? Your hand is being raised. Evolved. No? It's okay. Fine. Yeah. So this is what it is. It is explained in a more legal way in that sense that it has conjugal family, that is between relationship between the spouses, and the other is consanguine family, that is basically when there's a relationship between bloodies, the blood relationship between brother and sister or father and daughter or mother and daughter or mother or son or father or son, whatever, in that sense. So this is something which has been explained here. Then it says, you know, general characteristics. What are basically the characteristics of a family? So it is not written here. This all I had explained you. Family institution I have explained you. Relationship within the family I have explained you. Now, general characteristics of the family. I'm sorry, I was not so used to, so I could not, move the slides further. So now I will try that I do it side by side. So, general characteristics of the family. So, this is something which is very important. Existence of a marriage bond between man and a woman. Then, blood relationship bond between offsprings, possession of a residence. No, family as a group. Edward, can you please put your mic off? Edward, please put your mic off.
Everyone, can you mute your mic? Mute your mic. Everyone,
Everett, please mute your mic. I beg.
I
Everett,
think
mute your mic.
his mic is on and he's somewhere else and he's not listening. Anyway, we'll see. We'll see. So possession of residence, this is again a part of a family. This is a characteristics of a family that there is a residence where we all live together. So family as a group has specific functions to perform. So this is again something which is very important. Now, what is dimensions of a family? Dimensions of family means within the generic family friendship, kinship means the relationship between the people who are living in the. So two main types of family structures are prevalent. One is nuclear family. So we all understand the concept of nuclear family where husband, wife and children are staying. So that is called a nuclear family. I hope you all are aware about this concept. And second is extended family. Extended family includes the nuclear family and many of the relatives like grandparents, grandchildren, uncles, aunts, cousins. So all that are a part of extended family. Then it explains what are the different forms of marriages. This is again something important. The first is monogamy. Monogamy is when one man marries one woman. That is called monogamy. The second is polygamy. Polygamy means when one person marries different women, means more than one woman, several women. That is called polygamy. And third is polyandry. Polyandry means when one woman marries more than one man. That is called polyandry. So, in general, we all believe in monogamy. One man marries one woman is a general concept of marriage. We all believe in that, and mostly this is what is acceptable in our society in today's time. This polygamy or polyandry used to exist in the past. Maybe in today also, in certain societies, at certain places, we may find this kind of a marital way of living. But most commonly, we all know and understand monogamy. So this is what it is. Here in this book, there is an example that is being given of a Tibet family. No, in Tibet, the family is land holding descent jointly to all sons in the family. It is not divided among them individually, as may not be sufficient to support the family. Therefore, brothers share the land and the fief. You know, so there are different issues. There may be due to economic reason or due to different reasons. So different brothers marry one woman. You know, so this is the way they are living in Tibet. This is the culture, and this is how the family is living. Then patrons of patrons of patrons of authority. When we talk of patrons of authority, this says in which extent that patriarchal patrons of authority exist. Mostly, in Indian society, when I talk about India, this patriarchal family means males are dominant over other family members. Means it is a male dominant family culture where males in the family are taking most of the decisions in the families. That is called patriarchal families. And second is matriarchal pattern, where the authority exists with the woman, is vested with the female. That may be a wife or a mother who takes more or less all the decisions in the family. That is how it goes. So it explains the patterns of authority. Then norms for selection of a partner. So norms for selection of a partner is the most common role of, generally it is like generally, it is observed that in matrimony, when the marriage takes place, generally a girl goes to the house of a husband and stays there. So it is a general concept. In India, in our Indian society, this kind of a culture is more acceptable. And this is how it is. Husband family becomes a part of it, and that's how they, uh, live. And next is socialization. So when we go to the socialization, as we have studied in detail in our, when we studied our block 1 in our unit 2, it is in 2.5, in block 1 unit 2.5 talks in detail about socialization. Okay. What did you say? I didn't get it. Ma'am, your screen is not displaying a slide. I think to me I can see this very well here. It is visible. It is gone now. So it has come back to the socialization. Huh? So socialization I am not touching again. We have talked about socialization in detail yesterday. So I'm not really going to touch socialization today. I have today also talked in many of my talks about socialization. So we all have understood socialization. So then that is something which I don't need to put focus upon. Then next is stability in family pattern. Stability in family pattern is something that is again very important. The basically see the institution family is stable system, and this makes the Indian society well integrated. However, a number of factors have contributed in mainly the family unstable. The effect of modernization, have shaken the family and made it unstable. This leads to several problems of maladjustment, misunderstanding, infidelity, which makes the family unstable. A sound family life depends to a large extent on a single or same standard of behavior and responsibility for both men and women. Double, double standards or one standard for men and women, destroys personal happiness and social values in the family. So this is again something which really we really need to understand. You know, uh, it is something that happens that in our when we are living in a family, we really need to see and understand the values of the family. As a husband wife, there are certain rules what we have made with each other, which we should follow with each other, what all we can do, how we can live with more harmoniously, with love with each other, with rules that we need to follow. That is important. Then, one minute. Then again here, adjustment in marriage. So adjustment in marriage relates to the following areas. Sex relations. Again, when a couple, when a man and woman get married, there is we all are aware of it. We all are grown up and mature people. We understand this concept. Sex relations is something which is important part in marriage, is considered very important part of it. So this is important. Then managing family income. See, when you are married, there is a family. When you have a responsibility in today's time, I whatever my understanding is, it is still considered both male and female, both man and woman play a very important role in economic sector also. In our earlier time, it always used to be considered as a man responsibility, that the man folk is responsible to raise the expenses in the house, to see that he should be kind of a person who should have an income to see how the funds can be utilized in the family, and it was his whole sole responsibility. But with time, as we have talked about social change, we understand the concept is changing. Woman is going out and working hard, to support the family. So this is how what we need to understand, that family income, social activities, rearing children, and mutual friends and families. All these factors are very important when we want to maintain a healthy married life. If a woman is working, it is expected maybe the responsibility of making food at home is of both husband and wife. If they can afford to have a servant to prepare their food and all, it is different. If they do not have that kind of a support system, that kind of a income, they probably have to see how they can divide their time, and they both try to play important roles. And when it comes to children, if they have one or two children in the family, they feel okay, maybe at night the wife will try to look after the needs of the child. In the daytime, maybe a man can see, husband can see. It depends. So this is something which is very important. So it is really important to distinguish marital adjustment from two other terms which are sometimes used more or less interchangeably with it, that is marital success and marital happiness. So marital success refer to achievement of one more goals of marriage. So it is really important. Fine. So the family today is in transitional stage. As I just talked about it, the institutionalization family has been ignored, sometimes giving rule for tandem marriage and free love. The growth of individualism has given more freedom to everyone in the family. So this is something which is very important. Here, uh, there are one or two more things, that is that change in family pattern. As we all have seen, we have studied about the social change, and in that when we were talking, we have observed that the social changes coming in our society in different forms. So change in family pattern is also there. The basically the economic changes and their effect on the family life are very significant. The growth of education and economic opportunities have offered women a chance to make their own living, as I already talked about. So this is what something important. So then, it is basically it is seen that modern industry with serious results for the family and the income has its effect on it. Husband is no longer an important social factor in the family. Once children also start to contribute to the support of the family by working with the parents, that also makes a difference. When the children grow up, they also start earning and they also feel that they can support the family incomes. All that makes a difference in the family's way of leading a life. So effect of other social changes on the family has also been very significant. So that is very important. Certain other factors like decreasing size of family, propagation of a small family, late marriages. Nowadays, we observe what I have seen generally in India, the middle class or upper middle class family children are getting married nowadays in a very later age because they earlier focus more on their education and they like to become more independent and then they decide to get married. This is a latest trend that is happening, that is being acceptable, and our society has started accepting it, the new norm, the new values, how the families are going. Next is family disorganization and divorce. It has been observed that due to different reasons, now the social changes are happening and the woman has started going to work, and due to different way of settlement, our socialization of men is such they don't want to take responsibilities, and if woman is going out and she is tired and she is not able to perform the duties at home also, sometimes these are small reasons that become reasons for divorce. So these kind of things also happen. So this is something which we have to see that this is again a recent development where the divorce rate is increasing. There are many reasons for more and more divorces happening. Then single parent families. So this is again a new concept that there are there are single parent family. If out of two, one of the partner is died, or if one of the partners is divorced and the responsibility of the child to be raised by maybe a man or a woman, whosoever has been given the custody by the law, by the court, has to take the responsibility of the child. So single parent concept is also on a rise. So many times you see the single parents are being raising the children on their own with maybe sometimes it happens they do get the help of the extended family members to raise their offsprings. So this is also happening. So this is all about the unit 1, that is marriage and family, that I have to cover today. So I try to cover more or less every part of it. If anybody has any questions, anybody wants to ask anything or say anything, you can say. Otherwise, we can close for today. Please say something, anybody? No one has any questions to ask? Nothing? Nothing to ask? Nothing? If there is no question, then we can close it down today. As you all say, somebody has to say something, otherwise, I will not understand anything.
Yes, ma, we understood. We understood.
Understood? So, in that case, we can close down. You know, today we can close and we can meet tomorrow again. Yeah.
All right. All right. Yes, ma. Thank you.
So thank you everybody. I hope today is slightly different than yesterday. That was more theoretical. Today it has more of a daily our day-to-day experience subject to be talked about. And as we go further, we will be able to talk more in detail of our day-to-day life experiences. That will help us to understand this subject in depth. Okay. So okay. Thank you all. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, welcome, madam.
Yeah.